Greetings everyone. So before I get on to Erika Kirk, because that is the topic I want to talk most about, I want to briefly mention what happened at the installation of the new Archbishop of Canterbury. Of course, when I put out a video about the new Archbishop of Canterbury and how she is demanding that the church give reparations, or in fact, as the Archbishop of Canterbury, she can basically make the Church of England give reparations for slavery. Of course, the day after that, this incident happened during the installation, and I haven't been able to make a video about it till now. I would have made one sooner to get a reaction, kind of a hot take. But to be quite honest with you, it's one of those things where, as a Catholic, I guess it's sort of meaningless, really. Here's a clip of that incident.
Endorsed on this mandate is a certificate which verifies that public notice was duly given as required and that no person has appeared in opposition to the confirmation.
And as perhaps might have been expected, an announcement of disagreement from the congregation, but there can be no disagreements at this point, and the process as set out by the Act of 1533 has been met and will proceed.
So as you can see there, when it's said that nobody has had any objections, somebody who, according to what I've seen online, is believed to be a retired Anglican vicar, gets up and says, well, actually, he did have an objection. And then he goes on to say something else that you can't really make out before he is escorted out by security. Now, as I was saying, from a Catholic perspective, what has actually happened here is that a fake vicar / retired vicar has stood up and protested the installation of a new fake Archbishop of Canterbury, and that's why this really isn't a very significant thing for Catholics. The Church of England is seen from a Catholic perspective as an experiment that was doomed to fail. She was destined to crumble as soon as the decision was taken to protest against the church centuries ago and form your own church, and this is just the result of that. So I don't have a whole lot to say. It wasn't a particularly big interruption. The camera was on the guy for a few seconds and then it just went back to the proceedings, so we didn't get to see a whole lot. We didn't even get to see him getting escorted out, and that was probably the most interesting part. But yeah, that happened, and I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on that. So, of course, do leave your comments below if you do. But that did take place during the installation of the new Archbishop of Canterbury, the first female to be the Archbishop of Canterbury. Someone did get up and protest, and he probably wasn't the only person protesting this. The cathedral was half empty, and that may have been because a lot of people just refused to go. A lot of people who maybe would have attended did not want to attend. But it could also just be a general lack of interest, since the numbers in the C of E are falling drastically. Now, on to the issue of Erika Kirk. Now, I know that some people may not be particularly happy with what I'm about to say in relation to Erika Kirk. I know there are also people who feel that we shouldn't be talking about her so much. People should just leave her alone. However, I feel that she's kind of made herself a public figure. It was her own decision when she decided to do interviews on television, when she decided to be the CEO, or when she accepted the position as the CEO of Turning Point. So now she's fair game for criticism from the public, since she's in the public eye as a public figure. Now, over the past week, there has been some really damning audio released in relation to Erika Kirk. There's been some audio released, some leaked audio from a Zoom call, and then there's been some leaked video released as well, also from a Zoom call. I feel that the video isn't as significant, so I'm not going to play any of that because I don't think it revealed a whole lot other than the fact that Erika Kirk did say for the first time that people grieve differently. And that's kind of something people have been using now in a bit of a mocking way, that people grieve differently. So it's okay that it seems that she isn't grieving a whole lot because maybe that's her way of grieving. The audio footage, however, is significant, and I'm going to play you it now to let you make up your own mind if you haven't listened to this yet. Because when I listened to this, I reached a conclusion that, again, some people may find really offensive, but it's the only conclusion I could reach from this audio because it took place just 10 days after Erika Kirk lost her husband in a horrendous way. So here's some of that audio, and then I'm going to tell you my conclusion, and you let me know in the comments what you think, using your own reason and your own logic, discerning what do you make of this.
Wow. I don't even know where to begin. The fact that we were able to pull off an event of a century, like, it's just insane. We had over 275,000 people that attended, and the stadium, overflow, Westgate, insane, you guys. And then you have, was it 100 million?
Over 100 million.
You guys that heard the gospel and all about Charlie and all about everything that you guys do, and the hard work of Turning Point USA is insane. We had thousands that were registered to vote. I think we're at like over 200,000 for merch sales. Don't quote me on that because I think it just keeps like bumping up like crazy. But I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the events team, the development team, the graphic design team, the production team. It's just phenomenal. Their incredible work leading into the memorial. My husband's dead. Like, I'm not trying to be morbid, but he's dead. And it puts life into perspective of how short life is, and relationships, and God puts people in your life for a reason, and it teaches you a lesson, it teaches them a lesson. So if you are going through a time where, just lay it to rest, and we are moving forward, Turning Point USA 2.0 with Charlie in our hearts, and that's what he would want. Charlie would want us to get back to work, and that's what we're doing, and that's what we did with the memorial, and I'm so honored and proud of each and every one of you, because that's what we're going to do in his honor and in his name. We have so much to do, which is exciting. Charlie in heaven is like, you guys thought you had a busy schedule then, just you wait, and he's doing some awesome things with Jesus in heaven right now. But there's so much work to be done. I mean, since his assassination, we have 100,000 chapter requests. We have 300,000 new donors. That is a blessing in itself. Again, not normal, all God. I think we have 50,000 plus hat orders to fulfill. I mean, I'm saying these numbers because it puts into perspective that we're not just sitting and thinking and looking at the wall being like, what do we do? Like that, there is so much to do.
Now, is that the way you expect a grieving widow to behave? 10 days ago, she lost her husband, and she's already talking about merch sales, 200,000 in merch sales, whatever that means. She's talking about how many people have registered with a Turning Point chapter. She's talking about how many new donors they've got. She's talking about how excited she is. I remember 10 days after my dog died, I was still upset. I was still sad. If somebody went up to me and said, hey, do you want to do this thing? I'd be like, no, I don't want to do the thing. I'm sad. Leave me alone. I don't want to do anything right now. That was my dog. This is 10 days after her husband has gone. She won't see him again. Her spouse, her other half. When you lose your spouse, it's like a part of you is gone. Because obviously the man and the woman come together to form one body. So her spouse is gone. They have kids. And this is the stuff that she cares about. Again, if you lost your husband or your wife and somebody came to you with some figures of sales, etc., would you not just be like, go away, you don't want to listen to this right now, you don't want to see this. This doesn't interest you, you don't care. Your husband's gone or your wife's gone. You just wouldn't care about that stuff. It would be so insignificant and unimportant. But no, 200,000 in merch sales. I don't know whether that means they made $200,000 so far or whether they sold 200,000 items. 300,000 new donors who are going to be giving money to Turning Point USA. And obviously that part where she talks about being excited is very odd. To be excited at a time like this. And you see in moments she's trying to sound sad, but then she's also chuckling and laughing a little bit. And then she kind of goes back to talking about how she's sad, but Charlie's in heaven and he's happy. It's just all very odd. It sounds a bit fake, like she's supposed to say those things about Charlie Kirk because he was a Christian, and I guess she's a Christian, I think. So yeah, he's in heaven, he's happy with Jesus. And I guess that means it's okay for her to have peace. You know, even if you are a Christian, a deeply devout, believing Christian, if you lose a spouse or you lose a child, it still takes you time to come to terms with that. Like, you're not going to be at peace 10 days later. Even if you believe that they are in heaven with God, you're still not going to be at peace. It's going to take a bit of time because it's such a shocking thing to happen. Just the realization that you know you're not going to see them again, at least until after you die. But hey, she said people grieve differently. And perhaps they do. You know, some widows will wear black after their husband has died. Some of them will wear black for a year in grief. And some wear glittery pants. People grieve differently. To me, and again, if this upsets you or offends you, I'm sorry, it seems like she didn't love the guy. I'm not saying she never loved the guy, although some people do believe that. Some people believe that she literally married him because of who he was, rather than out of love. I don't know if that's true or not. Perhaps she married him out of love. But even if that's the case, somewhere along the line, I think she fell out of love with him, because this doesn't sound like a woman who loved her husband. She would be much, much, much sadder and more distraught than she is if she did. Folks, let me know what you think about that piece of audio. Do you find it as disturbing as I and many other people do, or do you think there is just an ordinary explanation for it and people are really reaching and being horrible to Charlie Kirk's widow? Leave your comments below as usual. Thanks very much for watching the video and have yourselves a blessed day.